my most watched content on YouTube here is me criticizing the Wings Club artwork, the new one, and roasting it and then fixing it. You guys seem to like that. Me too. So I thought we're gonna do this again. But instead of creating fan art for a show or a series, I decided to take one of my own old artworks so I can roast it and then rework it. Because I figured I have a lot of older work that could use a glow up. So if that sounds interesting to you, hi, I'm Kaya, I'm an illustrator. Yeah, that's it. I'm an illustrator. And I'm not one for big long intros, so we just start. So today's victim will be this portrait of one of my OCs. It's not that old actually, I did it in early 2024. Yeah, 24. So the character's name is Jalen and he's one of my main OCs or main characters when I draw something character focused. I could tell you a lot about him and his story and his background. But first of all, this would blow the scale of the video. Second, I may want to create more visual stories or writing, and you don't need the lore for this kind of video. But if that's of interest to you, let me know and I might do some dedicated videos to present my characters a bit more. But for today, just know that he's one of my original characters and that the moth you could see around him are a recurring motif and play a somewhat important role in the story. I chose this drawing because on first glance it doesn't look so bad. I really liked it when I first did it like 2 years ago, but something always felt a bit off to me. But back then I couldn't quite pinpoint it and fix it, or I would have done it. So despite liking it, I never shared it somewhere actually. At some point I already started to try to fix it and paint over it, but it was to no success. What bothered me about this is the wonky face anatomy. Everything is just slightly out of place, but not in a way that could be classified as like a stylization of the face, but more like a wrong perspective and proportions. The lips don't really wrap around the head like they should, but they sit just on the face. It's a bit as if you took like the 2D form of a lip and wrapped it with with the wrap tool around, so it seemed to be 3D, but it's not actually. Similar issue I had with the chin, where it's just slightly too pointy and it needed a bit more of a rounder form so that it actually feels three-dimensional. The spacing between the nose and the mouth is also too big, which is not necessarily a flaw because faces come in all different shapes and proportions, but for this character it was just not right, and it always bothered me. The closed eyes seem okay, but I just don't like the constipated look. Yeah, it's supposed to be more of a sensible, lamenting expression maybe. A bit hurted, but definitely not what I did in the first version. Facial expressions are really difficult for me. It's still a topic I struggle today with. They don't come easy at me and I have to keep practicing and pushing because I know I have a lot of room to improve in this regard. So I try to fix what I did 20 months ago. Instead of the closed eyes, I let him keep his eyes open. It's easier to convey the emotions I wanted in this piece. He might even look a bit hopeful now, which fits. If you have any interpretations on how the expression looks to you, feel free to let me know and feel free to share your thoughts and opinions with me in the comments. It's always interesting to hear how pieces are received by an outside perspective because I keep looking on it and staring at it in a detail, and then sometimes your view gets wrapped. Also, yeah, these were the most obvious changes I made in the conceptual state. The illustration itself doesn't have that many elements. It's fairly simple in that regard. The other half of the glow up it got with the rendering process, because that's just half the work. If you take a closer look at the first version, you will see that it's more on the rougher, unclean side. I said unclean in quotation marks because the loose style and loose paint brushes, brush strokes are a style. It's just not mine personally. And it looks like that, like rougher. Not because I necessarily had a painted style or have a painterly style like this. The rendering or the illustration itself just didn't get the time it needed. Or like I didn't give it the time it needed. It's it's rushed on my end. There is visible line art, which I often do, but it's not clean line art. It's more of a sketchy look. And combined with the structural issues I pointed out earlier, it's just a bit too messy for my liking, for drawing I did. You can see the things I pointed out mostly around the face and also the moth. The moth in the new version also got a full remake. They now also have a more cleaner look with structured wings and the same overall anatomical structures. While the old ones looked more fluffy, they also looked a bit more hackly and a bit more sad if you look at their wings. One of them even looked like someone took a bite out of them. I think I wanted to recreate the really natural look of a moth, like more realistic, but didn't quite nailed it. Yeah, and these aspects are not really that important for our illustration, that they look that rough. I do like the positioning of them though, like the overall composition looked nice. So I roughly put them at the same spot in a similar pose, like wings closed, wings open. So I gave them all cleaner line art. I said this so many times, oh my god, I need to. So I all gave them line art and put the same structure of the wings and patterns on each of them so that they look like they belong to the same species, not just in color, because in the first version it looks like 5 different moths that just have the same color but are not one species, which I probably did take 5 different moth species and took them as reference. Yeah. But I got better at drawing my moth. I can do this now without a reference. So they all look the same now. But speaking of the colors itself, like the coloring and shading, is another really important part of this piece. The first version with the colors, it actually happened in an experiment, or like how Bob Ross would say it, like in a happy little accident. I started rendering the old one and put an overlay layer on it. I chose the wrong one, I just misclicked, and everything looked in these greenish purplish colors, and I actually liked it, how it looked then, and wanted to leave it like that. I don't think I would have done these colors by choice. I like to experiment with colors, but the combination of it and also the low contrast of colors, I don't think it's something I would have done, but I'm happy it happened. This is also the part why the first version was in my mind for so long, even though I couldn't be satisfied with it. For the redraw, I now obviously want to create the colors as close as possible, and the first try was to redo the whole process I did in the former one. At least I thought it would be the easy way. Then it's been a while since I drew this. I could only look at the Photoshop file and see what kind of layers I used and what colors I used to render, but I couldn't really remember exactly what I did. That's why you also see the rendering in the regular colors, like a normal skin tone and like not the greenish looking skin and the brown hair and the red sweater instead of the purple. Then I tried to find out the layer effects and the layer modi I used. In my head it seemed like such a simple task, because it shouldn't be that difficult, to be honest. And every time I thought I had the right layer properties, it just didn't look right. I to this day have no idea what went wrong in the new file, but it took me so many tries to finally get the colors with the same technique I did in the old one. I don't know, it seems like every time I put my rendered picture into the old file it worked, but every time I did then the effects on the new one it didn't work. I don't know what happened. Yeah, anyway, let's continue. In between these struggles, I tried to render the whole piece again in the red colors itself, like the red colors I wanted, like the greenish purplish hues. Try to render everything itself in these colors, but that's more difficult than you think it is. And it also never looked like how I wanted it, because also the effects made the hair and the sweater lower in contrast and also colored the line art obviously with it. And recreating this manually was just a pain. I think the next time I want to do something like this, like in this color, not necessarily this color scheme, but this kind of shading, like those duochrome. For me it looks like a duochrome highlighter or something. I think I need to just paint it from the start in these colors and render like this. Or I need to find out what happened with my Photoshop. Yeah, but well, you never stop learning. So the rendering itself, it was just, beside the color struggles, obviously a regular thing, like nothing special about it. It doesn't have a extravagant light situation, no hard shadows or lightning. The mouth glow a bit, so they got a bit more of the bluish glow in, but also not too much. My rendering just looks more smooth compared to the old one, because over the past 2 years I learned more about shadow and lightning itself and form, and improved in this aspect quite a lot. And then obviously worked through a lot of different techniques and workflows to find finally something that works really well for me and I can easily recreate in my different works. So yeah, that's just, I didn't look at the old one and was like, I don't like this texture, I want to change that. It's just a normal change of style that's happening when you learn. I only did that with the freckles, like actively wanting to change it because they just didn't look good. I used to make myself some brushes for freckles, but they weren't that good yet. I still use brushes for them, but I improved them a bit. The old ones had just a weird texture and irregular color and shapes, but not in a way that you would freckle, but in a way that looks like a Photoshop stamp. Now I have more different brushes, different varieties of dots, and also draw a lot by hand to give them more natural feel. Besides that, I leave most of my line art visible and render. I just love line art, and I also stopped doing completely lineless line art, okay. And I stopped doing completely lineless art for a while now. Like here and there I will render something completely out, but most of the time I do enjoy doing line art. Some parts of the lines I blend in with the render, but mostly I just let it and color it how it needs to. And with that, it's a finished illustration I actually like. Yeah, let's see what I say about it in 2 years. Maybe I have to take this back and need another one like this. Nah, but in all honesty, it was fun. I never used to go back to all the work and rework it. For a long while, I had the mindset like what's done is done and it's not getting touched again. Only new stuff needs to be created. Yeah, but at the end of this video, I don't have to start why this even is not the best mindset always. I enjoyed reworking this piece, or more like redraw this one. It's more like a redraw because I actually started from zero, like new sketch, new line art, new everything, and didn't just paint over it. It's nice to see your own improvement like side by side, because even if you like one of those who like the old one more, there's improvement done. If not visually your taste, it's technical improvement for sure. Also, it's a good practice to go back to your own artwork. It doesn't matter how long it is, and you're able to point out the flaws and can criticize it without being self-loathing, like, oh my god, my art is so bad, but in a constructive way. Do this for some more works, because I have a lot of old artworks where I didn't know the rules of drawing. Like, I didn't know anatomy, I didn't know color and light, and I didn't know shapes, and everything's just a bit wonky, but I had ideas and just couldn't, but didn't have the skill level to actually do it how I wanted. So I might do this more often. And if you want to see that and you enjoyed this video, let me know in the comments, or with a thumbs up or a follow or whatever, all the YouTube stuff, do it. Please. Yeah, I'm still a small channel, and everything helps, and it's highly appreciated. And even if you just watch this video, thank you for being here. I hope you have a good day or night or whenever you watch this, and I hope to see you in the next one.